What is going on, fellow web developers? My name is Tyler Potts, and in today's video we're going to be creating this really cool and simple quiz application where you can take the quiz, and if you get something wrong it goes red, if you get something right it goes green, and then when you finish it you get a score. And this is all built in Vue JS. So we're going to be using Vue JS to create this really cool quiz application. So as you see now, let's just go back through it one more time. So you can see here we have 3 different options here. You can add more. This isn't just a limit. You can do more than 3 or less than 3. It's up to you. But here you go. We've got 3 options. So we could say, let's say, what is Vue? You've got a framework, a library, or a type of hat. Now, it's obviously a type of hat. I was wrong. You know, yeah, I should have been smarter, but there you go. We go next question, and here you go. What is Vuex used for? Eating a delicious snack, viewing things, or state management? Well, in our case, it is state management, and there you go. So you can see up here, we get 1 out of 3 right so far for our score. We go next, and you can see here, what is Vue router? An ice cream maker, a routing library for Vue, or burger sauce? Now, the intellectual I am tells me to go for burger sauce. And we were wrong. But now you can see we got 1 out of 3. And let's get all of them right. So let's go framework, state management, and a routing for Vue. And there you go. You can see we finished with a score of 3 out of 3 there. And that's what we're going to be building today. So without further ado, let's get into the code. Okay, guys. So I have a fresh folder here inside Official Studio Code. And in here, we're going to be using Fight to create a new app. So all we're going to say is npm create, and we're going to say Fight at latest. Now what Fight is, for those who don't know, Fight is a really cool, powerful engine which just runs your apps. And in this case, we can run Vue, it can run a bunch of different things. So let's just do npm create project name, and I'm just going to dot because we're going to build it in the current directory. So hit enter. Package name, now this can be anything. I'm just going to hit enter. Damn it, we're just going to call it quiz app. That'll do. And then select a framework. Now you can see here, you can pick out a vanilla, Vue, React, Preact, Lit, or Svelte. We're going to choose Vue JS, and it's going to select a variant. Now we've got the option of Vue or Vue with TypeScript. Now we're just going to select plain old Vue, and there you go. The scaffolding is now done. So we've got to run npm i or npm install to install the node modules packages, which should hopefully take a couple of seconds. And there you go, Feet has now finished. I just realized I called it Fight and everyone keeps moaning at me. It's called Feet, it's V-I-T-E, and it's a French word for fast, which stands for feet. But anyway, that's off topic. So we've done that. Now, how do we start our application? Well, we run npm, not nom. That would be a cool word for an, a CLI command, but we're not. We're going to say npm run def and hit enter, and that's going to start our development app super fast. And if we go back here, you can see it says, hello, Vue 3 plus feet. And we can count up here, which is pretty cool, blah, 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 blah. And there you go. That's all done. And guys, I'm using an extension called Folar, or Vue Language Features Folar, by Johnson Chu here, which gives us some support for our, there's a bunch of different things. I suggest you install it because it will help out with your building. But here you go. This is all here, just so you know. And this is the extension I'm using for anyone who's wondering. So now we've got that out of the way, inside of our source folder, we want to go into our components and just delete the whole folder. It's same with the assets. We're not going to need it for this tutorial. In our app.vue, we're going to delete everything inside of this script tag at the top here. And we're going to delete everything inside of our template and also in our stylings. Oh, I missed. But I just want to quickly add in a few stylings here just so we have some resets. So we're going to do this. And we're going to say margin 0, padding 0, box sizing border box. We're also going to have a little bit of a font family here, which says Montserrat or Montserrat and sans serif, of course. And then we're just going to give the body a background. We'll say color, and this is just going to be of 271C36. And then everything else, or sorry, not text color, just color, is going to be equal to white, just like that. And now if we go back to our app, you can see it's a nice dark color. And if we add any text in here, let's say H1, hello world, you can see it now says hello world up there. Just so you know, I am zoomed in 150% for your viewing pleasure, just in case you're wondering why I think we're so big. Let's close this sidebar here, and now let's get started on the functionality at the top. So inside of our script, we want to set up a few things. So first off, we're going to import ref and computed and we're going to say from, and I'm going to say Vue because these are Vue, modules, components, whatever you want to call them. And then we're going to create a new reference, and this is going to be called our questions, or it could be called quiz. It probably makes sense to be called quiz, but I'm going to do it as reference. And this is going to be an array. Now, inside of our array, we're going to have objects, and each object is going to have a question, which is, so for example, what is Vue JS? It's also going to have an answer. Now, this is going to be the index of the answer in our options array, and we're going to say 0 for the first question. So here we're going to have options, and this gets fun. A framework for building user interfaces. A building for. Let's just delete those. That was wrong. A front end. A front end framework. What it's got? A library. A framework for building web apps. No, let's just say an ice cream maker. Makes sense, you know. Cool things. And then we're going to also have one last one called the selected value, which is going to be the user selected answer. And now let's copy this and let's change this. So what is Vuex? What is Vuex? And that is going to be, we're going to say this one is equal to number 2, which is going to be this one here. And I'm just going to say it's the state management library. We're going to have in here, let's say, a cheese selection. And what else could it be? Vue with an X. That makes sense. Yeah, right, cool. And there you go. So our correct answer is there. And let's just do one more. You can choose as many as you want. And you can keep adding as many of these as you want. But for now, we're going to just do this. And what is Vue router used for? And we're going to set this one to number 1 because we're going to have it in the middle one this time. And Vue with an X, let's just say, what can we call it? What's the first one? What is routing? What is Vue routing used for? Let's say walking in space. I'm making this stuff up on the spot. Now this one's our correct answer, a routing library for Vue JS. And it might even not be a library. Someone's going to say, nope, it's just, a set of classes. I don't know, tools, stuff. And then what can we say under here? Let's say options. We could say burger sauce. Vue router could be used in burger sauce. Who knows? And I kind of want to add one more just to show off that you can add as many as you want. So let's just say quizzes. There we go, quizzes, there we go. And there are questions, so we're just going to minimize that, and I just thought I'd show you adding those all together there. We're then going to need something else. We're going to need quiz completed, and we're going to set that equal to a reference of false. We're then going to need our current question, which by default is going to be ref of 0, because this is going to represent our question we're currently on. So that will equal this item inside of our array in our questions, or the index of our questions. We're then going to get our const score and set that equal to a ref. But actually, no, we're going to be using computed for this. Sorry, that's why we imported it. And we're going to compute our score. So let me just show you here. It's going to be let value equal 0. We're then going to say questions.value.map, and we're going to say q, loop through all of this, and we can say if q.selected is equal to, or just to, equal to answer, because sometimes this comes back as a, one of these comes back as a string and the other one is a number. We're going to say value plus plus. So this will mean if our selected is the same as our answer, so we've selected the correct one, then we will basically plus here. Otherwise, we're going to do nothing. Outside of here, we're going to return the value. So this, every single time this changes or any of these change, this is going to update and be like, cool, so we need to look at our questions element here. Once it changes, what's happened? A selected now equal to answer. And it's going to loop through every single one and just make sure, this is going to loop through and be like, cool, if they're correct, if you've selected the correct one, we're going to up your score. And that's it. That's how it's going to work. So then after that, we're going to start coming up with some other ones. We're going to get the get current question. Now this is just going to make it easier for us. It is going to be a computed value again, and our get current questions is going to be equal to we're going to get the question, and we're going to set it to questions.value.currentQuestions.value. So that's just going to give us our current question. We're then going to say question.index, just in case you want to have the index in there and usable, and it's going to be question.value. Then we're just going to return question. So we're going to use this later on to obviously get what current question we're on. Now another function we're going to need is our answer. Now this is going to come from a value change event or a input change event in the DOM. So what we're going to say here is set answer, and we're going to set this equal to a event which we're going to pass through to our function here. Now we're going to say questions.value, and we're going to say current question.value. Now the reason we're not using get current question is because we want to modify this here, and Vue works better when you modify it direct, not through a second variable there. So questions.value.selected, and then we're going to set the selected to e.target.value. So this is going to be the element we have inside of our DOM. Oh, I just gave it a space and removed the space from there. Silly me. And there you go. So we got this event. I'm going to call this EVT because that makes more sense than E. E normally stands for error in a lot of people's code. So EVT stands for event, ERR stands for error. There you go. And then we're going to get the target, which is going to be the input we change. So when we change it, we're then going to set the value. Now underneath here, we just want to say event.target.value is equal to null, because we just want to reset it so what next time it reloads, it will no longer be set to a value. We then want to get the next question. Now this next question function is actually going to be a multi-functional function. And let me explain what that does. So we want to move to the next question. Now to do that, we just say current question.value++. But we want to know if we're on the last question, because if we're on the last question, we can't actually go to the next question. So what we want to say is if current question if I could type today, value is less than questions.value.length -1, because obviously this starts at 0, whereas this length is how many items are in the array starting from 1. So here we're just going to say current question is equal to +++, else we're going to say quiz.completed.value is equal to true. So then we would actually have a true value. And that is all the functionality we need. Now you guys probably like, wait, what? No way. Yes way. This is all what we need inside of our script. It's that simple. A quiz could not be easier. And let me show you how, obviously there's going to be some functionality inside our template we need to use and how we loop through things. But let me get onto that now so you can understand. So we're going to create a main.app. And inside the main.app, we're going to have just a, well, let's do a H1. This is just going to say the quiz, just so we have a title above everything, so it looks a bit nicer in our code. We're then going to get a section, and inside section, I'm going to give this the quiz. It's going to have a quiz in it, basically. And then we're going to get some quiz info, and this is going to be our actual question and our question and our score. So I'm going to do these as spans. I don't know why, I just feel like doing them as spans. It could probably be diffs as well. It would probably make sense to do them as diffs. But we're not cool like that. We're going to do this. So here, we're going to go to our question. And now we're going to use the function we created, or this computed property here, get current question. We're going to pass this through, call this, and then, or sorry, not call this because it's not a function. And we're just going to say question. So we're going to get the current question, and then we're going to get the actual question inside of here. So that's going to get this. So if we start at 0, it's going to get this, and then we're going to target this question here. So this is now going to display what is Vue JS. So if I just quickly hit save and we go back to the code here, you can see the quiz and what is Vue JS. Now the styling's a bit all over the place, so we're going to sort that soon. But for now, just bear with the ugly styling. Inside of our span, we're going to have another one, sorry, and this is going to be score. And we're just going to say score, and I'm going to pass through score / And the second one is going to be questions.length, because that's how much score you can get. You can only get 1 point per question if you get it right. So our total is questions.score. So if we hit save, let me just remove that space there, and we go back, you can see we're going to start off at 0 out of 3 score. Now this looks ugly, just bear with it again. Don't worry, we're going to do the prettiness towards the end of the video. I prefer to do functionality over appearance anyway. That's how it should be, although, you know, appearance is very important too, so don't opt out anyway. Anyway, we're going to create a div called options, and this is where we're going to store all our options you can pick from. Now we're going to create labels on every single one of these, and just remove the 4 for now. So inside of our label, we're going to have a input of type radio. We do not need a ID. However, we do need a name for these, and the name for these is going to be bound to, and let's just say it's going to be get current question dot index, and that's why we pass the index. We want the name of this to be the question index. Now we could put in here some text as well to say like it's question 0 or whatnot, but I don't like doing that. Let's just leave it at the index. It makes sense. It works either way. So let's just break this down. We're going to have a radio with the name of current index. We're also going to basically pass the value. Now the value is going to be equal to the index, and this is actually different to get current question index. We're going to get this from our loop, and our loop is going to be on this label. So we're going to say fee4, and we're going to loop through everything. So fee4 is obviously a loop in Vue JS. It's like doing for each, or just, well, for I is equal to 0, that sort of thing. And in here, we're just going to say we're going to get option. We're then going to get the index, and then we're going to say in, and we're going to say get current question dot options. So for each option in our current question, we're going to loop through and get an option and an index. We then need to pass a key onto this, and that's going to also be equal to index, else it will throw an error. Let's break this down onto a new line just so you can see. And then we're going to give this a class. We're going to actually bind to the class here and pass through template strings. And I'm going to say of option. Now we're going to do this. Okay, guys, so we're going to do a bit of complex coding, but just bear with me. So you can see here we have this. We're going to do a template literal inside of our template strings, and I'm going to use some ternary operators, but I'm going to break them down into lines so it's easier to read. So we're going to do our first statement here. We're going to say get current question dot selected is equal to index. Let's just delete these here. And then on a new line, we're going to do another one. And then, so if this is true, then we're going to say index is equal to get current question dot answer. And then, so what we're doing here is we're saying if the question is equal to, if the selected is equal to the index, that means this current option, and index is equal to the current question dot answer. So if it's correct, then we can pass through correct or wrong. Otherwise, we're going to pass through nothing because we don't want anything at that point. Also, I've just noticed there's a duplicate here, which we're just going to remove. So here you can see get current question selected, and then we're going to do that. And that's how it breaks down. It looks a bit weird, but in theory, this is, if you understand ternary operators, then this makes sense. If you do not, then this won't make sense. I suggest you go have a look at ternary operators. If not, you can just copy this and follow along with the rest of the tutorial. Anyway, so after we've done that, we're going to create another set of strings. I know it's getting a bit complicated, but I will explain why in a second. So we're just going to say get current question dot selected, and if it's not equal to null, and the index is not equal to get current question dot selected. So if this here, if this label or this option is not is selected, if we have something selected but it's not this one basically, then we're going to say, I'm going to break this down, I'm going to say disabled, because we want to disable them if they're not selected, and then pass through this pair of colons there. And there you go. So that's just basically say any that is not selected will become disabled, and we'll use a class edge just to make the opacity disappear a little so you can't click on anything else. And there you go. So that's how that works. We also want to take the same methods and place them onto here. So after our value, so we've got our type, our name, our value, which is equal to index, we're going to get a fee model. And the theme model is going to be get current question dot selected, because anything we change this to, we want our selected to be set to. We're then going to set disabled. So we want to say if we want to make sure this input is disabled if we currently have a get current question dot selected. So if our current question has an answer, we want to disable all the input fields because we want it to basically be disabled so you can't click on anything else. We're then finally going to put our function on here. So we're going to say @click is equal to, and we're going to say set answer. So up here, if you remember, we created this set answer, and that's what we're using. We're saying if, oh sorry, this shouldn't be click. This should be change, my bad. So when we change this radio button, so if we select one, it's instantly going to say set our answer to be whatever we clicked. So if we go back to our code, we've got a bit of errors there. That's fine. Let's just save here. There you go. And now you can see the 3 buttons here. If I click one, you're not going to actually know what happened. So that's the middle one, and that's wrong. And you can see these ones got disabled. But if we refresh and we click the first one, you can see that's actually correct. So we got it right, but the rest are now disabled. So you can't actually click anymore. But I'm going to obviously we're going to style this up in a moment. So just bear with me there. So here, now next to our input, we just want the span, and we're going to pass through the option we get. So that should show, yep, there you go, a front-end framework, a library, an ice cream maker. Now, if we go back, just bring this down, because that's where it should be. It's going to look a bit messy, and I apologize for that. This looks a bit messy, but it all should make sense. You could also put this into a function that brings this back as well up here, which would be a lot cleaner. So that's my bad for not making that cleaner. But I hope it all makes sense so far. So if it doesn't, just drop me a message in the Discord channel, hop on the Discord, links down below, and ask me a question in our help channels, and I will try and get back to you as quick as I can. Anyway, so that's all our options in there and ready to go. The final piece of this, underneath our div here, before our section, we're going to have a button. And now this button is just going to have a click event on it. So @click, we're going to say next question. We're then going to have a disabled attribute, which says, and we're going to do the opposite of this selected here. We're going to say if we do not have one selected, then it's disabled. If we do have one selected, that means we can then click to the next button. But which comes with this, we want to do a few things. Firstly, we're going to use another ternary operator, and I'm sorry, people are probably getting tired of these, but if you learn ternary operators, they're super useful and make things a lot easier. So we're going to get an index, and we're going to check if it's equal to our questions.length -1. If it's basically, if we're on the last question, we're going to make sure it says finish. So we're going to say it says finish quiz. Otherwise, we're then going to do a get current question dot selected, and we're going to check if it's equal to null. If it's equal to null, then we're going to say select an option. Otherwise, we're going to say next question. And there you go. So if we go back to our app, you can see it says next question. Let's just refresh here. You can see it says select an option because we have none selected, which is perfect. Now, if we select one, a front-end framework, you can see it says next question. Perfect. So if we hit next question, you can see we're on what is Vue X, score 1 out of 3. Now, let's say we select a cheese selection board. It's going to say next selection. Now, let's go. Now we're on the final one. What is Vue route used for? It's going to say finish. So let's say we select something along the lines of a Vue library for Vue JS, and we hit finish. There you go. That's finished, but nothing's happened. That's because underneath our section, we want a fee else. So underneath this section, we're going to create a fee if on this. So we're going to say fee if, and we're going to say, what did we call the function? Quiz completed, that's it. We're going to say if quiz completed, then we're going to show, sorry, if not completed. So if this is false, we're then going to show our quiz section. Otherwise, we're going to show this next section. So we're going to say section is equal to fee else. And then inside of here, we're going to have a H2, which says you have finished the quiz with an exclamation mark, just to show emphasis. And finally, we're going to have a paragraph that says your score is, and we're going to pass through our score out of, again, like we did up there, questions, questions.length, just like that. And there you go. So let's go back here, and you can see here you have finished the quiz. Your score is 2 out of 3. So if we refresh, let's get a full house. So let's say a front-end framework next, state management library next, and finally a routing library for Vue JS. Hit finish, and it goes, you have finished the quiz. Your score is 3 out of 3. Now, that is it for the functionality, guys, but if you want to stick around, let me show you how to make this look absolutely amazing. So we're going to start off with an app. We're going to say .app, and we're just going to pass through a few things. We're going to say display flex. We're going to say flex direction column. Flex direction column, there we go. And then we're going to align item center, just to bring everything to the middle. Now, after that, we're going to have a padding of 2 rem and also a min height of 100 VH. Now, after our app, we're going to get our H1. And our H1 is going to have a font size of 2 rem and a margin bottom of 2 rem, just like that. Underneath the H1, we're going to get a quiz, which is going to be equal to our quiz. And we're just going to set the background color. And this one's actually going to be slightly lighter. It's going to be a 3.8 2A 4B. And we can then give this a padding of not 2 rem, but 1 rem, just so it's a bit less. We're going to give it a width of 100%, but a max width of 640 pixels. So let's just have a quick look what this looks like. So if we go back, you can see currently this looks like this, which looks a lot better already, but it's not perfect. So underneath our quiz, we're going to get the quiz info. Now, we're going to have a, sorry, not a background color, we're going to display this as flex, because we want each element to be spaced between. So we're going to say justify content, space between. And we just want to set a margin bottom of 1 rem to this as well to push everything down. We're then going to get the quiz info dot question. And inside of here, we're going to give it a color. And we're going to set it to 8F, 8F, 8F. And we'll also set the font size to about 1.25 will probably do. And there you go. So that's looking a bit better already. Also, I want to give this a border radius of 0.5 rem. And there you go. That looks a lot better already. Cool. And quiz info. After our quiz info, we then need to set the quiz info dot score to be a color of white and a font size of 1.25 rem. And there you go. That looks a lot better over there already. Now here comes the best part, which makes everything look a lot cooler. So we're going to get the options. The options is going to have just a simple margin bottom of 1 rem. And then under there, we're going to get a singular option. These are going to have a padding of 1 rem all the way around. These are going to be display blocks, because these are currently labels, of course. And we want to set the background color of these to be our 271C36, the darker color, because we want to make them stand out a little. So there you go. That's looking a lot better already. We then want a margin bottom of 0.5 rem on each one and a border radius of 0.5 rem as well. Finally, we're just going to have a cursor of pointers, so when you hover over them, you can see they change. I'm then going to get the option. When we hover over it, I'm just going to say the background color is going to be equal to, and not the 328, we're going to do something slightly different. We're just going to say 2D213F, which is just slightly lighter than the darkest color. We're then going to get the option dot correct. So when the option is correct, we're going to set the background color, not to the dark one, it's going to be a 2CCE7D. We're then going to do the option dot wrong. I could write this as incorrect, but I want to be weird, so I did it as wrong. And FF5A5F, which should give us a nice dark red there. So here we go. If we select the wrong one, you can see that's now the wrong one. If we select the right one, you can see that shows the right color there. And then after our option dot wrong, we want to say option and last of type. And we're just going to set the margin bottom to be 0 because we don't want any spacing at the bottom of this, because we're going to use something else to apply spacing. Well, we used the options to apply spacing and not the option. So we've got that out of the way. We're then going to do the option which is disabled. So we're going to say dot disabled. And this is going to have an opacity of 0.5. We're then going to have an option called input, obviously, and this is going to be display none, because we do not want to see that thing. We just want to see the questions, and this whole thing is going to be essentially our button. So that looks a lot better already. We're then finally going to have a button. Let's scroll down a little. A button, and we're going to set the appearance to none. We're going to give it an outline of none and a border of none. This is just to reset everything to make it look a bit better. And we're finally going to give it a cursor of pointer. Now under there, we're going to have a padding of 0.5 rem, 1 rem, a background color of the green. So let's go find that green color again, 2cc. I nailed that with the paste. We're going to give it a color of the dark again. We're going to say 2D 213F. A font weight of 700 to make it bold, just so it stands out a bit more. Text transform of uppercase, and let's give it a font size. We'll say 1.25 rem. Oh, 25 rem. And a border radius of 0.5 rem. And there you go. You can see select an option is now looking pretty good. Refresh, but we don't know what it looks like when it's disabled. So underneath button, I'm going to say button and disabled. So once the button is disabled, we're going to just give it an opacity of 0.5. And there you go. You can see it's currently disabled. You cannot click it to move on to the next question, which is good. That's what we want. We then just want to get our H2 from the end of this, and we're going to say font size. We're going to say 2 rem. I think it needs to be quite big. We're then going to give it a margin bottom of 2 rem. That's 1 rem, not 2 rem. There we go, 2 rem. And a text aligned center. Finally, we're going to have a paragraph. We're going to have a color of AF, a font size of, a font size. And we'll set this to 1.25 rem. And finally, we're just going to have a text aligned center for this as well. So here we go. This is the final piece of the quiz app. So let's have a look. Let's go through and see an overview. So we've got our title and the rest of our content. This tells us what the question is. What is a Vue JS? What is Vue JS? It's a ice cream maker. Damn it, I was wrong. So we didn't get any score for that. So let's go to the next question. What is Vuex? Now that's a state management library. And there you go. We got the next question. Finally, what is Vue router used for? Now we have a bunch of different things here, but our answer is a routing library for Vue JS. And there you go. Now once we hit finish, you can see you have finished the quiz. Your score is 2 out of 3. And there you go. That is how you make a quiz app inside of Vue JS in 2022. I probably should date these videos. But anyway, there you go guys. Thank you for watching this tutorial. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Smash that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Also, if you're new around here, you may not know that we have a Discord server. So if you need help, or you get stuck at any point, or you just want to join an awesome coding community, feel free to check the link out in the description. Finally guys, thanks for watching this video, and peace out.